He was a humble man who gave his heart to the woman he loved. But when poverty struck, she turned against him, mocked him, and threw him into the rain. Yet destiny had a plan. Years later, the same woman invited him to shame him, but what she saw left her trembling before the man she once despised. So grab your popcorn, sit back, and get ready for one of the most powerful stories you've ever heard. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, turn on the notification bell to support more inspiring stories like this one.
Subscribe for more content.
Long ago, in the warm and bustling town of Idagoke, where palm trees whispered secrets to the wind and cockcrows marked the rhythm of each new dawn, there lived a man named Aid. He was a gentle soul, humble, hardworking, and full of dreams, though life had given him little but sweat and struggle. Aid's hands were rough from work, his clothes simple, but his heart was golden. He loved deeply, and he believed that love was stronger than riches. He often said, "A poor man with peace is richer than a king with pride." But fate had tied him to Shalom, a woman as beautiful as morning dew, but proud as the midday sun. Her voice was sweet when she wanted something, but sharp as a blade when she was angry. In the early days of their marriage, love had danced between them like two palm leaves in the wind. But as time passed and money grew scarce, her sweetness began to fade. Aid worked hard but earned little. He sold phone accessories by the roadside and repaired radios for small coins. Sometimes he would return home late at night, soaked in sweat, only to find Shalom frowning at him. "Aid," she would snap, hands on her hips, "is this how you plan to feed a family? Look at you, a man with no vision. Even my friends laugh at me because of you." Aid would lower his head and reply calmly, "Shalom, money is not everything. We will rise little by little. The palm tree doesn't grow tall in one day." But Shalom would hiss and turn away. "Keep your village proverbs to yourself," she would say. "They cannot pay our rent." Over time, she began to change even more. She no longer cooked for him, nor did she show him respect. What made it worse was that she had begun to earn more money, working in a small supermarket owned by her aunt. With that small power, pride entered her heart like fire entering dry grass. She would boast to her friends, "I am the one paying our rent. Without me, Aid would be sleeping under the bridge." Her friends would laugh, and though her words burned Aid's heart, he kept silent. He prayed each night, whispering to God, "Let this storm pass, for even rain does not fall forever." But Shalom's heart grew colder. She started staying out late, wearing fine clothes and perfume, her laughter ringing down the street as she rode on the back of strange men's cars. When Aid asked her where she went, she would say, "Since you cannot provide, let me find friends who can help." The neighbors whispered, "That woman will bring shame to her husband one day." Aid bore it all in silence, believing that one day she would change, that one day she would remember the man who loved her when she had nothing. But destiny had other plans, and the road ahead would test him in ways his heart could not yet imagine. As the elders say, when love and pride sleep in the same bed, only one will wake up in peace. One hot afternoon, when the Harmattan wind had left the air dry and restless, Shalom stood by the roadside after work, fanning herself with a folded newspaper. She wore a tight-fitting gown that shimmered like river water under the sun. Sweat trickled down her neck, and her eyes darted left and right, waiting for a taxi. Then, like a dream gliding on four wheels, a sleek golden car stopped before her. The window rolled down slowly, and a man's voice, deep and smooth like melted honey, said, "Beautiful lady, where are you going? Allow me to give you a ride." Shalom turned and saw a man in fine clothes, his wristwatch glinting like treasure. His name was Juon, tall, handsome, with the scent of expensive perfume trailing him like pride trails a peacock. At first, she hesitated. "No, thank you. My husband wouldn't like this." Juon laughed, a confident, careless laugh. "Your husband? My dear, any man who allows a jewel like you to walk under this sun doesn't deserve you. Come, let me take you home in comfort." Those words, sharp and sweet, pierced her heart. She looked at the car again, at its golden shine, and then at her torn slippers and faded handbag. A small voice inside her whispered, "Enter. At least you deserve small enjoyment." And so she entered. That ride became another, and then another. Juon began visiting her supermarket, buying things he didn't need just to see her smile. He told her he was a car dealer, that he traveled to other states to buy and sell vehicles. Money flowed around him like water around stones, and he always spoke as if the world itself bowed before him. He started giving her gifts, perfume, gold earrings, money folded neatly in envelopes. "You deserve better than this life," he would say. And soon the wall between them crumbled. Meanwhile, Aid noticed the change. Shalom's clothes became finer, her words harsher. She stopped greeting him in the morning. The food on the table grew less, the laughter in the home vanished. One night he asked softly, "Shalom, are we still husband and wife, or are we just two strangers living under one roof?" She sneered. "Don't start your poor man drama tonight. I am tired of your pity stories. You cannot provide, yet you want to act like king." Aid's heart broke, but he said nothing. He only whispered, "The yam that grows too close to the fire will soon burn." Shalom began spending nights away from home. The neighbors whispered louder now, "She's seeing another man," but Aid refused to believe them. He held on to hope, thinking that one day she would return to her senses. But Juwon's shadow had already covered her world. His gifts had blinded her, his lies had become her truth. What she didn't know was that behind that golden car and shiny wristwatch was darkness, deep, dangerous, and deadly. For Juon was not a car dealer as he claimed. He was a night thief, a man who stole cars in other states and sold them for blood money. But Shalom, drunk with the taste of wealth, never cared to ask. As the elders say, when the eyes love money, the heart becomes blind. That evening, the sky wore the color of sorrow. Heavy clouds gathered above the rooftops, and thunder rumbled like an angry drum in the distance. In the small, dimly lit sitting room of Aid and Shalom's house, tension sat between them like an uninvited guest. Aid had just returned from a long day of hustling, washing cars, carrying goods at the market, anything to bring home a few naira. His shirt was soaked with sweat, his hands rough from hard labor. Yet when he entered, he still wore that tired but peaceful smile. "Shalom," he called gently, "please, can we talk?" Shalom sat on the couch, her face glowing from the screen of her new phone, one Juon had bought for her. She did not look up. Aid sighed and continued, "I know things have not been easy. I am trying my best. Maybe my best is not enough yet, but I just want peace between us. I still love you." That last line broke the silence, but not in the way he hoped. Shalom stood up sharply, eyes blazing. "Love?" she shouted. "Will your love pay the rent? Will your love buy food? Aid, I am tired of suffering. I am the one paying for everything in this house. What kind of man are you?" Aid looked down, hurt but calm. "A man is not measured by his pocket, Shalom, but by his patience and hard work. Don't let pride turn your heart to stone." Her laughter came cold and sharp. "Keep your proverbs to yourself. If patience could build a house, you would be living in a palace by now." Then, like thunder itself, her next words struck him to the ground. "Aid, pack your things and leave my house tonight." He stared at her in disbelief. "In this rain? At night?" "Yes," she snapped. "Leave. You're a failure. Go and find where failure like you sleep." The rain began to pour, loud and heavy, as if the heavens wept for him. Aid stood there, trembling, as Shalom pushed his small bag of clothes into his chest and slammed the door behind him. Out on the street, he walked barefoot through the storm. The rain beat him, the cold wrapped him, and the night mocked him. Every drop of water felt like a word of insult. He had no direction, no shelter, only pain and memories. He found an old tree by the roadside and sat under it, drenched and broken. "Oh God," he whispered, "what did I do wrong? I gave her my heart. I gave her my strength. Why did she throw me away?" Lightning flashed and the wind roared through the leaves like ghosts singing sorrow. But in that dark night, something stronger than pain began to grow inside him, a quiet fire, a promise that one day life would smile again. As the elders say, the seed that falls in the storm may still grow into a mighty tree. That night, the rain fell without mercy. The streets of Lagos were nearly empty, except for the lonely figure of Aid, walking with a slow, heavy heart. His clothes clung to his body, soaked through. His eyes, red from tears and rain, stared at the dark road ahead, but he saw nothing clearly, only memories of Shalom's laughter, her betrayal, and her cruel words echoing like a curse. He passed by houses with bright lights and laughter pouring from their windows. Inside, families shared warm meals and soft conversations, but Aid had no roof, no warmth, no hand to hold. Still he kept walking. As he reached a small kiosk, the old woman who sold roasted corn called out, "Ah, my son, where are you going in this rain?" Aid smiled weakly. "Nowhere, Mama, just walking." She looked at him, pity in her eyes. "And sit small under my umbrella. The rain no get friend." He sat quietly beside her, the smell of roasted corn and charcoal filling the air. The woman gave him one cob of corn. "Eat, my son. Even the stomach of a hungry man needs comfort." Aid accepted it with shaky hands. "Thank you, Mama. God bless you." She nodded. "My son, the road of life is not always straight. Sometimes when a woman pushes you away, she only pushes you closer to your destiny." Her words sank deep into his soul. He slept that night near the kiosk, on a wooden bench, his head resting on his bag. The rain had stopped, but the world still felt heavy. Yet in his dream he saw a small light far away, a sign that perhaps not all was lost. The next morning the sun rose gently, drying the wet streets. Aid stood up, brushed the dust from his trousers, and said to himself, "I will not die in shame. I will rise again." He began looking for work. He joined a group of young men washing cars by the roadside. The pay was small, but it fed him. He worked with humility, always greeting customers with respect. Some days he hawked sachet water under the sun. Other days he helped a food seller carry pots and wash plates. People mocked him. Some even laughed when they saw him. "See that man way wife throw out? Not car washer, he done turn now." But Aid only smiled. Let them laugh, he told himself. The river that bends still reaches the sea. And so he worked, prayed, and endured. Slowly his heart grew stronger. Meanwhile, Shalom was living her new life with Juon, going to parties, wearing gold, and bathing in vanity. She had forgotten completely the man who once held her hands through hunger and tears. But the gods were watching, and destiny had started sharpening its knife. As the elders say, the bird that forgets the hunter's trap will one day dance into it. In those days, Shalom's life began to shine like the full moon, but her light was false, a borrowed glow from another man's deceit. After sending Aid away, she moved in with Juon, the man of cars, money, and smooth lies. He placed her in a fine apartment in Lekki, with marble floors and a wide balcony that faced the sea. Every morning she would wake up smiling, dressed in the latest clothes, spraying perfumes that cost more than Ade's monthly earnings. Her neighbors admired her beauty, but behind their smiles were whispers that followed her wherever she went. She left her husband for money, some said. "Ah, women of nowadays," others muttered. "She does not know that wealth without peace is like a river without water." But Shalom didn't care. As long as her purse was full and her fingers glittered with gold, she believed life had finally favored her. Every weekend she and Juan attended parties. They drove flashy cars, threw bundles of naira in the air, and people hailed them. Juan the money man, Shalom the queen. She laughed loudest, proudest, forgetting the man who once shared roasted corn with her by candlelight. Juan, on his part, continued his secret life. Each time he told her he was traveling for business, he was actually going to other states, robbing, hijacking, and selling stolen cars. His men feared him, and his hands were stained with the cries of innocent people. One night Shalom asked him playfully, "My love, you always come back with money, new cars, and fine watches. Tell me, which car business makes this kind of quick profit?" Juan smiled and kissed her forehead. "Ah, my dear, in business you don't ask too many questions. Just enjoy the blessings." Shalom laughed, and her laughter hid her greed. Deep inside she knew something was wrong, but she didn't care. As long as money kept flowing, her conscience could sleep. But there are some truths that even gold cannot bury. One evening, while she was at a women's gathering, a prophetess who didn't know her spoke suddenly, saying, "There is a woman here whose hands are deep in a man's stolen wealth. She eats from blood money, and her tears will soon fill the calabash of regret." The hall went silent. Shalom felt her heart race, but she pretended to look away. When she got home, she asked Juan about it. He only laughed again. Prophets see what they want to see. Forget them. She tried to forget, but something about the prophetess's words followed her like a shadow. Still, she smiled through it all, drinking, dancing, spending. She was too deep in comfort to notice that destiny had already begun to prepare her lesson. As the elders say, when money enters through the window, wisdom sometimes flies out through the door. Many moons passed since that cold night when Ade was thrown into the rain. But like a stubborn seed buried in the earth, his spirit refused to die. Each day he woke before dawn, washed his face with the cold water of courage, and went out to face the world. He moved from one small job to another, washing cars by the roadside, selling sachet water in traffic, helping food vendors, and even pushing wheelbarrows in the market. His hands grew rough, his clothes faded, but his heart grew stronger. People who once mocked him began to respect his humility. "This man no day shame," one trader said. "He works hard, no matter how small." One afternoon, as he stood by the car wash, wiping sweat from his forehead, a shiny black SUV stopped in front of him. The window rolled down, and a soft voice called his name. "Ade? Is that really you?" He turned, his heart beating fast. The voice was familiar, yet distant, like a song he once loved. Then he saw her face. It was Love, his old friend from university. She had been his close companion in those days, a quiet, gentle soul who always admired his kindness. Back then, he had been too focused on survival to notice the affection she carried in her eyes. "Love?" he said, surprised. "Ah, it's been years." She smiled warmly. "You've changed, Ade, but your heart still shows in your eyes. What happened to you?" Ade hesitated, ashamed to speak, but Love was patient. She invited him to lunch, and there he told her everything, how he lost his job, how Shalom treated him, and how he was thrown out like a stranger. When he finished, Love's eyes glistened with tears. "You didn't deserve that," she said softly. "Aid, you've always been a good man. The world may mock you, but goodness never dies." She told him about her father, a wealthy businessman who had passed away and left her many companies. "But I don't want to run them alone," she said. "I want someone I can trust. Someone with a clean heart." Aid smiled sadly. "You trust me too much, love. I have nothing." She touched his hand gently. "You have honesty, and that is worth more than gold." From that day, Love helped him rebuild. She gave him a small office to manage one of her logistics companies. Aid worked hard, proving himself worthy. Within months, profits increased, and she handed him more responsibilities, one company after another, until he became the overseer of 5 thriving businesses. The tides of life had begun to turn. For the first time in years, Aid slept on a soft bed, ate good food, and smiled without pain. But more than wealth, he found peace. And as time passed, he and Love grew closer. 2 hearts mended by understanding and faith. As the elders say, the hand that wipes your tears today may hold your joy tomorrow. The wind of fortune began to blow gently in Aid's favor, and this time it came with blessings that had no sorrow in them. From the very day, Love gave him the chance to manage her late father's company. Aid worked with honesty, humility, and dedication. He was always the first to arrive at work and the last to leave. He treated the workers with respect, and soon the whole company began to call him Oga with a pure heart. Under his leadership, profits grew, new branches opened, and Love's businesses became stronger than ever before. Love often watched him with quiet admiration. "Aid," she would say, "you've brought life back into my father's dreams." He would smile and reply, "Ah, my sister, I'm only doing my part." When one works with truth, the gods of the land bless the path. Months turned into years, and Aid became one of the most respected young businessmen in Lagos. He bought a fine house in Banana Island, had cars that shone like silver under the sun, and his name began to open doors. But through it all, he never became proud. Whenever people asked him how he made it, he would laugh and say, "The rain that beat me once taught me how to build my roof." Love, too, stood by his side through every step. Their friendship blossomed into something deeper, a love built not on wealth, but on shared pain and faith. When Aid finally proposed, it was a quiet evening under the same mango tree where they used to sit back in their university days. "Love," he said softly, kneeling before her, "you came when the world had forgotten me. You saw treasure in a broken man. Will you walk with me through the rest of life's journey?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Aid, I will walk with you, not for what you have, but for who you are." Their wedding was simple but beautiful, a gathering of true friends, family, and elders who prayed blessings upon them. There was laughter, music, and dancing that echoed through the night. And a year later, the heavens smiled upon them with a child, a handsome baby boy who brought light into their home. They named him Oluwazen, meaning, "We are thankful." As Aid watched his son sleep one night, he whispered to himself, "From pain came purpose. From rejection came redemption." He had no bitterness toward Shalom. He had forgiven her completely. But destiny, with its sharp memory, was not done yet. For far away, in the same city, Shalom and Juan were preparing for a wedding of their own, one filled with pride and deceit. As the elders say, the man who mocks another's fall forgets that life is a turning wheel. In the quiet corners of Lagos, gossip travels faster than the wind. One afternoon, as Aid sat in his office, reviewing documents for his new branch opening in Abuja, a messenger entered with a fancy golden envelope. "Sir," the messenger said, bowing slightly, "someone sent this invitation to you personally. The sender said you will know them. Aid took the envelope and turned it in his hand. The paper smelled of expensive perfume, the kind that filled halls of pride and vanity. When he opened it, his heart paused for a moment. It read, "You are cordially invited to the wedding ceremony of Shalom and Juan. Venue, Paradise Event Center, Lekki. Time, 2 p.m. sharp." Aid smiled faintly, not from joy, but from understanding. So this is how fate works, he thought. Those who mocked you in the rain may one day invite you to their feast of vanity. He showed the letter to Love, who was feeding their 1-year-old son, Alu Wason. When she read it, she frowned slightly. Why would they invite you after all they did? Aid laughed softly. Love, they think I am still the same man they threw away, poor, broken, and lost. They want to mock me in public, to feed their pride. Love looked at him carefully. And will you go? Aid's eyes shone with calm wisdom. Yes, my wife. The river does not fear the frog that drinks from it. Sometimes silence is the loudest victory. Love smiled and nodded. Then we shall go, but not in anger, Aid. Let us go with peace in our hearts. The day of the wedding came bright and loud. Cars filled the street, music blasted from speakers, and guests in glittering clothes filled the hall. Shalom stood like a queen in her white gown, her smile wide, her pride wider. Juan stood beside her, his gold wristwatch flashing under the lights, pretending to be the perfect groom. The guests clapped and danced, chanting, "Love is sweet when money is plenty." Halfway through the event, a loud horn sounded outside, PRRMM. Everyone turned. Through the glass doors rolled a convoy, a black SUVs, shining like kings of the road. Then came a white Rolls Royce, its tires smooth, its paint reflecting the sunlight like water. When the door opened, Aid stepped out, tall, graceful, and dressed in a rich agbada of pure white. Beside him stood Love, wearing royal blue lace, holding their son. The crowd gasped, murmurs filled the hall. Is that not Aid? Shalom's ex-husband? But how? He's rich now. See the kind car he came with. Shalom's smile froze. Her hands trembled. Her past had come to stand before her in glory. Aid and Love walked in calmly, greeting people with humility. He approached Shalom and said softly, "Congratulations, Shalom. I wish you peace in your new home." Those words cut her deeper than any insult could, for she saw now that the man she once mocked had become the man she could never reach again. But the gods were not finished. Fate had one more twist waiting in the shadows, a truth that would scatter her world. As the elders say, the one who mocks another's scars may soon be wounded in the same place. The wedding hall was alive with music, laughter, and clinking glasses. But the moment Aid and Love entered, the air shifted. Pride turned into whispers, and whispers turned into silence. All eyes followed them as they walked gracefully to their seats. Shalom, dressed in her wedding gown, stood like a statue. Her face smiled, but her heart burned with shame. Just 2 years ago, she had thrown Aid into the cold rain like a beggar. Now that same man stood before her, richer, calmer, and more honorable than the man she had chosen. Juan, her groom, didn't notice her trembling. He was too busy showing off, shaking hands, and pretending to be the king of the day. But fate, like a patient hunter, had waited for this very moment. After the couple exchanged their vows, the master of ceremony took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue the celebration, let's welcome our special guest, Chief Aid Adebayo, CEO of Love Holdings." The crowd clapped loudly. Shalom's mouth fell open. Chief, CEO? Her knees almost gave way. Aid stood, gave a humble bow, and said a few words. "I came not to boast, but to celebrate with two people I once knew closely. Life is full of turns. When one door closes, another opens. May your union be guided by truth and wisdom. His voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of thunder. As he sat down, Love, who had been quiet all along, looked at Ju-won closely. Her eyes widened as she leaned toward her husband. "Aid," she whispered. "That man, the groom, I know him." Aid frowned slightly. "You know Ju-won?" Love nodded slowly, her voice shaking. "Yes. 2 years ago, I was robbed on the highway while returning from Ibadan. The man who stopped me, he took my car, my jewelry, everything. I'll never forget his face." "Aid, it was him, Ju-won." Aid's eyes hardened. "Are you sure, Love?" "I swear on my father's grave," she said. "That scar on his neck, he got it when my driver fought him that night." Aid said nothing more. He quietly called one of his security men, who came with the convoy, and whispered to him. The man nodded and stepped outside to make a phone call. Moments later, police sirens wailed outside the event center. Wee woo, wee woo. The guests panicked. The music stopped. Policemen entered the hall, their boots echoing loudly. "Where is Mr. Ju-won Adebisi?" One of them barked. The groom froze. "What is happening?" Before he could react, 2 officers grabbed him. "You are under arrest for armed robbery and car theft. You've been on our wanted list for 2 years." The hall erupted into chaos. Gasps filled the air. Shalom screamed, "No, there must be a mistake." But it was no mistake. The police brought out photos, records, and witnesses. The truth hit her harder than thunder. The man she had chosen for money was nothing but a thief. As they dragged Ju-won out, he turned to Shalom and said bitterly, "You loved my money, not me. Now enjoy the shame it brings." Shalom collapsed, crying uncontrollably. Aid and Love stood quietly, their faces calm. As they walked out of the hall, Love held Aid's hand and whispered, "God's justice may walk slowly, but it never misses the road." Aid nodded. "Yes, my love. The rain that beat me has now washed me clean." And so the wheel of destiny turned again. As the elders say, when the truth dances naked, lies run to hide in the forest. The once celebrated wedding of Shalom and Ju-won ended in tears and disgrace. The music stopped, the laughter died, and the guests left in shame, whispering as they went. Only the sound of police sirens echoed far into the evening. Shalom sat on the cold floor of the empty event hall, her white gown now stained with dust and tears. The flowers that once decorated her path now lay scattered, crushed under fleeing feet. Her crown had fallen off, and her mascara ran down her face like black rain. She wept bitterly. "Oh God, why me?" she cried. "Why would this happen on my happiest day?" But her heart knew the answer. Somewhere deep inside she heard Aid's gentle voice from years ago. "The yam that grows too close to the fire will soon burn." Now she understood. She had mocked humility and embraced greed. She had traded love for wealth, truth for lies, and now the gods had given her a taste of her own medicine. Outside, people gathered, whispering in pity and gossip. "Ah, is that not Shalom? The woman who chased her husband out in the rain? Yes, oh, see how pride has fallen. She wanted gold, now she has ashes." Every word pierced her like a spear. She wished the ground would open and swallow her. Later that evening, when everyone was gone, she removed her veil and walked barefoot down the street. The once proud woman now looked like a beggar. She went back to the house she shared with Ju-won, only to find policemen sealing the doors and carrying away his stolen cars. "Madam," one officer said, "this property belongs to the government now. Your husband is a wanted criminal." She fell to her knees, pleading. "Please, I didn't know. I thought he was a businessman." The officer looked at her with pity. Ignorance doesn't wash away shame, madam. May this teach you wisdom. That night, Shalom slept on a neighbor's bench, her stomach empty, her heart broken. For the first time she thought of Aid, the man she had thrown away like trash. She remembered his kindness, his patience, his soft voice that never shouted, even when she insulted him. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered into the darkness, "Oh, Aid, you were a good man. I was blind. I traded gold for glitter." The next morning she went to look for him. She found his new mansion after asking around, but when she reached the gate, the guards stopped her. "Who are you?" one asked. I'm Shalom," she stammered. "Please, I want to see Aid." The guard looked at her torn clothes and shook his head. "Oga no day see visitors without appointment." "Madam, Abig go." She begged, she cried, but the gate remained closed. She turned away slowly, her tears falling like rain. As she walked away, she heard laughter and the voice of a small child, all awazen, calling, "Daddy, Mommy, come and see my toy car." She froze. She could hear Love and Aid laughing softly together, the kind of laughter that comes from peace. And in that moment, she realized what she had lost forever. As the elders say, the heart that mocks love will one day thirst for it in vain. In the days that followed, Shalom became a shadow of herself. Her once beautiful face lost its glow, her laughter disappeared, and her eyes looked empty, like a calabash drained of water. She wandered from street to street, her clothes faded, and her pride gone. Those who once admired her now pitied her. The same market women who used to greet her with Madam Shalom, fine woman, now whispered behind her back, "See how the mighty has fallen," one would say. "Pride na bad thing another would add. She drove away her husband because he was poor. Now see am, Shalom had nowhere to go. The house she once paid rent for was gone. The man she trusted, Juon, was now in prison, his name a song of shame in every newspaper. Her so-called friends had vanished like smoke. One evening, as she sat under a mango tree by the roadside, she saw two children playing. They were laughing and chasing each other in the rain. She smiled weakly, then tears filled her eyes. It reminded her of the night she sent Aid out into the rain, shouting, "Leave my house. Go and be poor elsewhere." Now she was the one with nowhere to go. She whispered to herself, "If only I had known that patience is the rope that pulls blessings closer. If only I had stayed and supported Aid, maybe we would still be happy." That night she slept under that same mango tree. Her stomach rumbled with hunger, but her heart hurt even more. She dreamt of Aid, dressed in white, smiling peacefully, surrounded by light. He said gently, "Shalom, pride builds no home. Love feeds the soul, not goal." When she woke, her cheeks were wet with tears. She decided to go back to Aid's gate once more, hoping he would forgive her, even if he would not take her back. The next morning she arrived early. The compound was big, with fountains, flowers, and fine cars. She stood by the gate, trembling. The guards recognized her, but did not chase her away this time. "Wait small," one of them said. "Madam Love day outside. Maybe she go see you." Minutes later, Love came out, holding her son. She looked elegant, but her eyes were kind. When she saw Shalom, she paused, recognizing her immediately. "Shalom?" she asked softly. "Is that you?" Shalom fell to her knees. "Yes, it is me. Please forgive me. I wronged Aid. I wronged love itself. I have nothing left. I came to say sorry." Love sighed deeply. "You hurt him deeply, but God has restored him. He bears no hatred toward you." Shalom's tears flowed freely. Can I see him? Just once?" Love looked at her gently. "He traveled for business. But even if he were here, some pains are healed only by time, not meetings." Shalom nodded slowly, accepting her fate. "You are a good woman. Take care of him, and teach your son that money without peace is like soup without salt." Love helped her with some food and money, then watched her walk away slowly, the once proud woman, now humbled by life's lessons. As Shalom disappeared down the dusty road, Love whispered to her child, "My son, remember this, never despise a man because of his season. The tree that looks dry in harmattan may bloom again when the rains return." And so Shalom walked the road of regret, her heart filled with sorrow, but also with wisdom she never had before. The elders say, when a fool learns through pain, the gods smile, for wisdom has finally found a home. Months passed like the wind, and Aid's name spread far and wide like the fragrance of sweet perfume. From the dusty corners of Lagos to the cool hills of Ibadan, people spoke of him, the man who once hawked bread and washed cars but now owned companies, estates, and factories. Everywhere his name was mentioned, the elders would nod and say, "That one, he is a man that did not let shame destroy him." Aid never bragged about his wealth. He moved with humility, still visiting the market women who once gave him food on credit, and still giving coins to the beggars who slept under the bridge as he once did. His success did not make him proud. It made him thankful. His wife, Love, stood by him always. She was not only his wife, but also his wisdom and comfort. Together, they managed the 5 companies she had given him: transport, real estate, agriculture, oil, and construction. Their life was a perfect blend of peace and prosperity. One evening, Aid returned from a business trip. As he entered his compound, he looked around and smiled softly. "From sleeping in rain to owning this mansion," he whispered. "Truly, God does not forget the humble." Love came out to welcome him, carrying their little boy, Oluwazen. The child ran toward him, shouting, "Daddy." Aid lifted him high, laughing with joy. Later that night, as they ate dinner, Love spoke quietly. "My husband, I saw Shalom some days ago. She came to the gate. She looked broken." Aid paused, his spoon halfway to his mouth. "Shalom?" he said softly. "Yes," Love replied. "She came to ask for forgiveness." Aid leaned back and sighed deeply. The world turns round indeed. When I had nothing, she cast me away. But see how life teaches through fire. I forgive her, even without her asking. What she did made me stronger." Love smiled. "That is why you are blessed. Your heart is pure." Aid nodded slowly. "My mother used to say a man's true wealth is not in his pocket, but in his heart. I will never forget that." The next morning, Aid visited the church he used to clean during his hard days. He knelt down before the altar and gave thanks. "God," he said, "I do not deserve all this, but you raised me from the dust. May my story remind others that patience and hard work never fail." The priest blessed him and said, "My son, the yam that grows in secret will one day be harvested in the open. You are that yam." Later that day, he donated food and money to the poor, building homes for widows and funding schools for orphans. Everywhere, people blessed his name. But deep in his heart, Aid still carried compassion for Shalom. He knew the pain of hunger, the bitterness of rejection, and the loneliness of sleeping in the rain. So he told his driver one afternoon, "Find out where Shalom is living now. I want to help her quietly, without her knowing it came from me." The driver nodded, touched by his master's kindness. And so, the same man who had once been mocked by his wife now rose to become a blessing to even those who wronged him. The villagers began to call him Aid ol-Wadara, Aid whom God lifted. As the elders say, when the humble man becomes king, his kindness becomes the crown upon his head. The sun rose lazily that morning, casting a soft orange glow over the crowded streets of Ibadan. Traders shouted, children ran about, And somewhere under the big almond tree by the roadside sat Shalom, her once radiant face now lined with sorrow. She had become a woman of no home, no pride, and no peace. Her fine clothes were long gone. Now she sold roasted corn by the roadside, just to survive. Every time she looked into the fire that roasted the corn, she remembered Aid, the night she sent him out into the rain. The same rain that had washed away her pride now seemed to pour every time she thought of her past. One afternoon, a young girl came to buy corn. She was wearing a school uniform, neat and bright. "Auntie, how much for one?" she asked. "100 naira," Shalom replied softly. The girl smiled and handed her the money. As she turned to leave, she said, "God bless you, Ma." That small sentence touched Shalom's heart. It reminded her of how Aid used to pray for her every morning before leaving for work. She blinked back tears and whispered, "Amen." As the girl walked away, a black SUV parked by the roadside. A tall man in a suit stepped out, holding a brown envelope. He walked up to Shalom. "Good morning, madam. Are you Mrs. Shalom Aid?" Shalom froze. The name Aid struck her heart like lightning. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I am." The man smiled kindly. "My boss asked me to give you this." He handed her the envelope and walked away without another word. Confused, she opened it. Inside was a check and a letter. The check was large, enough to buy a house and start a new life. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the letter. It read, "Dear Shalom, life has a way of teaching us through pain. I have long forgiven you. I pray you find peace, not shame. Use this to begin again. Do not waste the second chance. Aid." Tears rolled down her cheeks, falling onto the paper. She pressed it to her chest and cried aloud, "Oh, Aid, even after all I did, you still show me kindness. You are truly a man blessed by heaven." People passing by stopped to look, wondering why the woman selling corn was weeping, but Shalom did not care. For the first time in years, her tears were not of sorrow, but of gratitude. She closed her stall early that day and went to a small church nearby. Kneeling before the altar, she prayed earnestly. "Lord," she said, "forgive me for my pride. I chased away my joy, I mocked my blessing, and I embraced deceit. But you sent mercy through the same man I despised. I am no longer Shalom, the proud woman. I am Shalom, the woman who lost her crown and found grace again." From that day, she began to live differently. She built a small home, started helping widows and orphans, and warned young women never to despise humble men. Her story spread across the town like harmattan fire. People began to say, "That woman once mocked her husband, but now she preaches wisdom." Indeed, the woman who lost her crown had found peace, not in gold or marriage, but in humility. As the elders say, when pride falls, the spirit rises. Years passed, and the story of Aid and Shalom became one that elders told around firesides when the moon was high and the air was calm. Both had walked through pain and pride, but time, that patient teacher, had changed them in different ways. Aid was now one of the most respected men in the region. He had built schools, sponsored widows, and employed thousands of people. His name had become a symbol of humility and hope. Wherever he went, people said, "That is the man who rose from rain to riches, yet still bows his head before God." One bright morning, he decided to host a great banquet, not for kings or rich men, but for the poor, the forgotten, and the broken. "Let every hungry soul come," he said. Today we celebrate mercy. The town buzzed with excitement. Children danced in the streets, women sang praises, and the elderly blessed his name. Tables were set under wide canopies, filled with steaming jollof rice, roasted meat, and sweet palm wine. Musicians played drums that echoed through the hills. Among the crowd was a woman dressed simply in white, Shalom. She had heard of the feast and came quietly, not to seek attention, but to give thanks. She sat at the back, hoping no one would notice her. When Aid arrived, the crowd cheered, shouting, "Aid al-Wadara, the humble king." He waved, smiling humbly. Then his eyes caught sight of her, Shalom, seated quietly with her head bowed. He paused for a moment, his heart softening. He turned to his guards and said, "Bring her to the front." The crowd murmured in surprise as Shalom was led forward. She trembled, afraid of judgment, but Aid smiled gently. "My people," Aid said, his voice carrying across the field. "This woman before you once hurt me deeply. But her story is not one of shame, it is one of transformation. For we all fall, but only the wise rise again." He turned to her. "Shalom, I forgave you long ago. You taught me patience and strength even through pain. Come, eat with us, for today is not a day of sorrow but of redemption." Tears filled her eyes. She knelt before him, saying, "You are truly a man of God, Aid. I came not to eat, but to thank you. Your kindness gave me back my life." Aid raised her to her feet. "Stand, Shalom. The past is gone. Let peace reign." The crowd clapped, some wiping tears from their eyes. The drummers began to play again, and the music rose high like the song of angels. Even Love, Aid's wife, came forward, embracing Shalom warmly. "Sister," she said softly, "what pride once broke, forgiveness has mended." That day, under the setting sun, they all ate together. The once poor man, the once proud woman, and the people whose lives their story had touched. An old griot, storyteller, who watched from a distance, lifted his talking drum and said, "Let every ear that hears this remember, the fire that burns today can give light tomorrow. Pride destroys, but humility rebuilds." And so, the feast became known as the Banquet of Redemption. From that day on, people greeted Aid not just as a rich man, but as Baba Ifa, the father of love. And Shalom, who once lived in shame, became a helper to many women, teaching them that a humble heart is the greatest beauty a woman can wear. As the elders say, when forgiveness walks hand in hand with wisdom, peace never leaves the home. Many seasons passed after the great banquet of redemption, and both Aid and Love grew older, their faces glowing with the peace that only true forgiveness brings. Their son, Aliwazen, grew into a wise young man, gentle and respectful like his father, and kind-hearted like his mother. The story of Aid and Shalom became a lesson passed down from elders to the young. Whenever people gathered under the moonlight, the griots would beat their drums and say, "Listen, children of the soil, to the tale of the man who slept in the rain and rose to dine with kings. Listen and learn what pride and patience can do." In those days, Shalom too had become a changed woman, humble, quiet, and full of wisdom. Her small house by the roadside was always filled with visitors seeking advice. Young wives came to her crying, saying, "Auntie Shalom, my husband has no job. I want to leave him." And she would smile sadly and say, "Do not make the mistake I made. A man's season may change, but a woman's love should be steady like the moon. I left my husband because of money, but I later learned that gold without peace is poison." Her words healed many homes. People began to call her Mama Itunu, Mother of Peace. Even though she had once fallen, she rose again through repentance and kindness. Meanwhile, Aid continued to bless lives across the land. His companies grew, but he never forgot his humble roots. Each year, on the anniversary of the day he was cast out into the rain, he held a Thanksgiving celebration. He called it the Night of the Rain, where he shared food and stories with the poor. One night during the celebration, as the moon shone bright, Aid stood up to speak to the young men gathered around him. "My sons," he began, his voice calm but firm, "remember that wealth is a visitor, It comes and it goes. But character, character is the owner of the house. Do not despise small beginnings, and do not let the pride of others turn you bitter. Work hard, be patient, and trust the seasons. The crowd nodded, clapping softly. He turned to Love and smiled. And you, my queen, thank you for seeing a king and a beggar. Love laughed gently. I only saw what God was preparing. From that day, Ade's story was no longer just about struggle and success. It became a proverb. Whenever a young man faced hardship, elders would say, "Remember Ade, the man who turned pain into power." And when a woman grew proud because of wealth, they would say, "Remember Shalom, the woman who lost her crown and found it in humility." Years later, when Ade's time came to rest with the ancestors, the whole town mourned, not because a rich man had died, but because a kind heart had stopped beating. They buried him under the big Iroko tree by the river, where his story had first begun. As the drummers played softly, Shalom stood quietly among the mourners, tears in her eyes. She whispered, "Sleep well, Ade. You were the light I did not deserve." The Griot lifted his drum one last time and sang, "The rain that once brought shame has become the dew of blessing. The man who was rejected has become a legend, and the woman who mocked him has become his praise singer." From that day, the story of Ade and Shalom lived on for generations, a timeless African folktale teaching that patience may walk slowly, but it never walks backward. Love built on respect will never be destroyed by poverty, and pride, like smoke, will always rise, but fade away in the end. And so ends the tale of Ade, the man whom God lifted, and Shalom, the woman whom life humbled. A story that reminds every heart that true wealth is not found in gold or silver, but in love, humility, and forgiveness. As the elders say, the heart that forgives is the garden where blessings grow forever.
Subscribe for more content.